a sarcastic remark that cuts too deep, days of silence after you reached out, choices made as if you don't exist. You sense it before you can name it, a heaviness that settles in your chest, yet you force a grin. You convince yourself you're being mature. You tell yourself it's not worth the fight. But here's the reality. Disrespect isn't a single incident. It's a pattern. It's an evaluation. And each time you remain quiet, each time you brush it aside, you aren't demonstrating grace. You're entering into an agreement. You're broadcasting to everyone that your worth is up for negotiation, that you're expendable, that you can be trampled without repercussions. Niccolo Machiavelli, the thinker who decoded humanity's most ruthless instincts, understood this truth 5 centuries ago. He recognized that the instant you're perceived as vulnerable, your defeat is already sealed. He didn't craft the prince for those seeking popularity. He wrote it for those determined to endure. If you're exhausted from being the person who contributes more than they receive, if you're drained from feeling invisible among crowds, pay close attention. We're about to reconstruct your inner architecture. We're going to eliminate the piece of you that craves external approval. We're going to create something else, something unshakable. But before we begin, we need to confront the question that haunts your quietest hours. The question you're terrified to voice because the answer is already clear. Why do people treat you this way? And even more critical, why do you permit it? There's a psychological mechanism you activate daily that invites this treatment. You're triggering it right now through your body language, your constant apologies, and your endless accessibility. We must identify that trigger and destroy it. Disrespect doesn't announce itself loudly. It arrives as a murmur. It starts subtly, a probe. Human beings are calculating evaluators. We're perpetually assessing our social landscape for power structures. Who ranks above me? Who sits below me? Who's vulnerable? Who demands caution? When someone encounters you, whether it's a romantic interest, a supervisor, or a longtime companion, they're unconsciously testing the perimeter of your personal territory. They push against the boundary. They crack a joke that targets you. They arrive 15 minutes late without explanation. They cut off your sentence to insert their own story. They're observing, measuring. If the boundary stands firm, if you respond with a pointed look, a deliberate pause, or a clear limit, they retreat. They categorize you as someone deserving respect. But if the boundary gives way, if you laugh nervously, if you say, "No worries, it's fine," you've just granted them permission to intrude further. Machiavelli noted that people are governed by 2 fundamental forces, affection or apprehension. In our contemporary world, we don't require people to fear for their safety. We need them to fear losing access to us. When you accept minor disrespect, you become their trainer. You're the designer of your own degradation. You're instructing them that your time holds no value, your emotions are irrelevant, and your boundaries are merely suggestions. Consider the most recent moment you felt diminished. Perhaps during a meeting. You spoke and someone overrode you. What was your response? Did you halt mid-sentence? Did you apologize? Did you wait silently for them to conclude? In that instant, you transmitted submission. You indicated that their voice mattered more than yours. And the most damaging part, you felt the betrayal of your own spirit. That sinking sensation in your core isn't just humiliation, it's your inner self screaming because you abandoned it. Disrespect flourishes in the space between your dignity and your anxiety. You're anxious about friction. You're anxious about being labeled problematic. You're anxious that defending yourself will lead to rejection. So you select the gradual erosion of disrespect over the immediate sting of confrontation. But Machiavelli cautions us, conflict is never evaded. It can only be delayed to others' benefit. When you dodge the confrontation of establishing a boundary today, you're ensuring a battle against your self-respect tomorrow. And in that battle, you stand alone. So what's the solution? The conventional guidance is powerless. Communicate your feelings. Use I language. Absolutely not. When you're navigating someone who disrespects you, you're managing a power equation, not conducting therapy. If you reveal your emotional state to someone who doesn't value you, you're providing them weaponry. You're exposing your vulnerability. You don't explain. You don't protest. You become the abyss. Picture this. You hurl a sphere at a wall. It rebounds. You catch it. You throw again. It's interactive. You're participating. Now imagine you throw that sphere into an endless void. It doesn't return. It produces no sound. It simply disappears. You throw another? No. You step away. You're disturbed. You're uncertain what exists in that emptiness. That's the authority of zero reaction. When someone attacks you verbally, they're anticipating a predictable response. They expect rage, which confirms they control your emotional state, or they expect withdrawal, which confirms they dominate your space. When you deliver neither, you shatter the pattern. You observe them. You maintain eye contact. You don't smile. You don't frown. You simply witness. You allow their words to linger in the atmosphere. You extend the silence until discomfort builds, not for you, but for them. Silence functions as reflection. In that quietness, their insult bounces back toward them. They register the pettiness in their own tone. They recognize the immaturity of their own conduct. You'll watch them begin to squirm. They'll say, "I was only kidding," or "Why so uptight?" They're scrambling. They're attempting to retrieve control, but you don't return it. You've entered what Machiavelli terms the sovereign position. The sovereign doesn't engage in trivial disputes. The sovereign observes from the tower. This isn't passivity, this is strategy. Energy is a resource. Attention is a resource. Why would you compensate someone who just attempted to steal from you? When you refuse your reaction, you're demonstrating that their judgment doesn't carry sufficient weight to affect you. You're demonstrating that you're rooted in something more profound than their validation. This is the initial phase of becoming invulnerable. You cease nourishing the predator. Machiavelli stated, "The fox must recognize snares." Disrespect is frequently a snare disguised as ordinary dialogue. It's the subtle undermining from a manipulator, the veiled insult. You're surprisingly intelligent for someone without formal education. You look great. Did you drop weight? If you accept the bait, if you express gratitude or become defensive, the trap closes. The fox perceives the motivation beneath the language. You must cultivate detached understanding. Emotional empathy means experiencing their feelings. It means being consumed by the emotion. Detached understanding is analytical. It's a physician examining a disease. You comprehend their motivation, but you remain uninfected by it. Why is this individual attempting to diminish my standing? Typically, it's because they perceive their own standing as vulnerable. The confident don't require belittling others. Only the insecure need to stand on someone else's dignity to feel elevated. When you recognize the disrespect for what it truly is, a manifestation of their fragility, not evidence of your inadequacy, it loses its power. It becomes pitiable. You stop wondering, what's deficient in me? And you start wondering, what's damaged in them? This transformation in viewpoint is everything. It removes you from the victim position and places you in the observer position. The fox understands that you cannot wage every war. If you challenge every antagonist that provokes, you'll exhaust your strength. You must select your engagement strategically. Sometimes the most devastating response is agreement. They declare, "You're so unmotivated." You respond, "I know. It's a privilege." They say, "You're strange." You say, "Completely." This is a method called misdirection. You become like vapor. If you hurl a rock at stone, it damages. If you hurl a rock at vapor, it travels through. You present no resistance. You provide them nothing to oppose. By accepting the criticism, or more accurately, by refusing to be wounded by it, you disarm them entirely. You extract the weapon from their grasp and discard it. It bewilders them. It disrupts their framework. They want combat. You offer nothing. And in that void, you triumph. But sometimes silence isn't sufficient. Sometimes the predator is at your threshold and the barrier is failing. Machiavelli knew that while the fox possesses cunning, the lion is essential to intimidate. There are occasions when you must reveal your fangs, not necessarily to attack, but to remind them of your capability. This is where most individuals fail. They confuse hostility with power. They yell, they issue ultimatums, they create spectacles. That isn't power, that's a meltdown. Genuine aggression is measured, it's exact. It's a calculated strike. When a boundary is violated consistently, silence becomes inadequate. Now you must implement a penalty. But here's the Machiavellian principle. The penalty must be behavioral, not verbal. You don't announce, "If you repeat that, I'm departing." You simply depart. You don't say, "Stop interrupting." You cease speaking entirely, observe them, wait for them to finish, then redirect your attention to someone else. You eliminate them from the exchange. You withdraw your attention. You remove your presence. Machiavelli wrote, "People should either be treated generously or neutralized." In modern terms, neutralized means they forfeit the privilege of your time. If you have a companion who repeatedly cancels on you, you don't compose an extended message about how it wounds your feelings. You stop extending invitations. When they eventually contact you, you're occupied, not artificially, genuinely occupied constructing a life that doesn't revolve around them. You effectively terminate the version of the relationship where they're permitted to disrespect you. This is agonizing. It demands you be willing to lose people, and that's why so many remain trapped. You're unwilling to walk away. You're clinging to fragments of a relationship because you're petrified of emptiness. But you must grasp this. You cannot negotiate respect with an oppressor. And anyone who holds your self-worth captive is an oppressor of your soul. If you're unwilling to walk away, you possess no leverage. None. The lion doesn't bluff. The lion doesn't negotiate its own legitimacy. The lion establishes its domain, and if you violate it, there's a consequence. That consequence is your withdrawal. Scarcity generates value. Precious gems are valuable because they're uncommon. Air is free, but if I deprive you of it for 2 minutes, you will exchange everything you possess for 1 breath. Machiavelli comprehended that excessive familiarity breeds disdain. If you are perpetually available, perpetually present, perpetually responding instantly, your value diminishes. You become environmental furniture. When you've been disrespected, your immediate impulse is often to intensify efforts to regain their favor, to demonstrate your worthiness. Do the reverse. Withdraw. This isn't the manipulative silent treatment. The silent treatment is coercive. It's performed to provoke response. I'm describing strategic removal. This is performed for your safeguarding and recalibration. You draw your energy back into your own core. You stop initiating. You stop sharing your internal world. You become surface level, courteous, professional, but impenetrable. You treat them like an acquaintance. There's a coldness to this, an essential coldness. When you retract your warmth, they sense the chill. They realize the warmth was a gift, not an entitlement. And suddenly the dynamic transforms. They begin pursuing you. Is something wrong? You've been distant recently. Don't rush back. Allow them to sit in the cold. Let them realize your presence must be earned. This requires you to maintain a life independent of them. You must possess a mission, a purpose, a kingdom of your own. If your entire existence revolves around one person, a partner, an employer, a parent, you're vulnerable. You're a satellite orbiting their planet. If they push you away, you drift into darkness. But if you're the sun, if you possess your own gravitational pull, then their disrespect doesn't move you. You simply burn onward. Construct your fortress. Build your capabilities. Build your physique. Build your finances. Build your intellect. When you know you can survive and flourish without them, you become formidable. You become liberated. And a liberated person is impossible to disrespect, because a liberated person can always leave. Now we descend deeper into the shadowed chamber of consciousness. We've discussed managing the external reality, but the external reality is merely a reflection of the internal one. The harsh truth, the Machiavellian truth, is that you're experiencing disrespect because, on some level, you believe you've earned it. You possess a disrespect threshold. It's a temperature setting in your unconscious mind. If you were raised in turbulent surroundings or carry a history of wounds, your threshold is calibrated to acceptance. You're accustomed to a certain level of mistreatment. It feels recognizable. It feels like home. When someone treats you well, you become suspicious. You sabotage it. When someone treats you poorly, you lean closer. You attempt to repair them. You must recalibrate the threshold. You must construct what the Stoics named the internal fortress, a stronghold inside your consciousness that no one can penetrate without your authorization. This begins with your self-dialogue. If you disrespect yourself, if you break commitments to yourself, if you consume garbage, if you delay, if you observe your reflection and think criticisms, why would you anticipate anyone else to treat you differently? You're transmitting your self-worth on a frequency everyone can detect. When you enter a space, your subtle expressions, your vocal tone, the way you occupy space, it all communicates a narrative. Is the narrative, please approve of me? Or is the narrative, I am present? To eliminate disrespect, you must first eliminate the fragile version of yourself, the version that craves validation like a substance. You must abstain from validation. Stop requesting people's opinions. Stop seeking compliments. Stop apologizing for existing. Start honoring commitments to yourself. If you declare you're attending the gym, you attend. If you declare you're working, you work. Every time you honor a self-promise, you place a stone in the internal fortress. You build self-trust. And when you trust yourself, when you respect yourself, other people's disrespect feels revolting. It doesn't feel familiar anymore. It feels like a transgression, and you reject it instantly, automatically, like touching flame. You don't have to attempt to establish boundaries. Your existence is the boundary. People can detect self-respect. It possesses a scent. It smells like danger. It smells like someone who cannot be controlled. And interestingly, it attracts the appropriate individuals. People who want to meet you at your elevation, not people who want to pull you down to theirs. Let's examine practical implementation. Tomorrow morning you walk into your workplace or sit at the meal table. Someone makes a remark. Must be pleasant to depart early. Or, I see you finally decided to appear. The former you would have laughed anxiously. The former you would have explained, oh, I actually completed all my tasks. Or apologies, traffic was terrible. The new you, the one who has traversed this fire. You stop. You turn. You observe them directly. You hold the gaze for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. You say nothing. You turn back to your activity. You've just signaled. I heard you and it was beneath acknowledgement. Or perhaps you employ the Socratic approach. You play the fox. They say must be pleasant to depart early. You ask with authentic curiosity, what do you mean by that? Force them to articulate the insult. Force them to unpack their indirect aggression. Oh, just that you're leaving before 5. Yes. Is there an issue with my performance? Now they're on the defensive. Now they must be the manager, or they must retreat. You've taken the hidden attack and made it visible. You've dragged the phantom into daylight. This is the work. It's uncomfortable. Your pulse will accelerate. Your hands might tremble. Do it regardless. Courage isn't fear's absence. Courage is action despite fear. Every time you do this, you rewire your neural networks. You're teaching your brain that you're secure when you defend yourself. You're teaching your nervous system that you can handle confrontation. And gradually, the fear diminishes. It's replaced by quiet, burning pride. The pride of a ruler who has finally claimed the throne. We must address the shadow. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, taught that we all possess a shadow. The dark, suppressed aspect of our personality. The aggression, the self-interest, the capacity for harm. You've been conditioned to conceal your shadow, to be harmless, to be docile. But a harmless person is not a virtuous person. A harmless person is a powerless person. A virtuous person is a dangerous person who maintains their danger under deliberate control. To handle disrespect, you must integrate your shadow. You must contact your capacity for ruthlessness. You need to know that you could harm them, that you could obliterate their reputation with a statement, that you could be cruel, and you choose restraint. That's where your confidence originates. Not from being harmless, but from being a monster who has elected to be civilized. When you know you possess a blade, you don't need to display it constantly. You can keep it sheathed, but people know it's there. They see the handle. This is the Machiavellian paradox. To have peace, you must be prepared for conflict. If you're incapable of aggression, your kindness is merely surrender. If you're capable of aggression but select kindness, that is virtue. Stop attempting to be a saint. Be a warrior in a garden. When someone disrespects you, they're essentially checking whether you possess a blade. If they see you're defenseless, if they see you're incapable of conflict, they'll take everything from you. Show them the handle. Show them you're choosing peace, but you're not afraid of conflict. Let's pause. I want you to consider the cost. What has your tolerance cost you? It has cost you rest. It has cost you dignity. It has cost you the respect of your children who observe how you permit people to treat you. It has cost you money because you didn't request the raise. It has cost you love because you remained with someone who treated you like an alternative. Disrespect is a thief. It steals your future. Every time you suppress your truth, you're swallowing poison. That poison accumulates. It transforms into resentment. It transforms into depression. Depression is frequently just rage with no outlet. It transforms into sickness. The body maintains the ledger. You cannot afford to be disrespected anymore. It's too costly. The price is your life. Are you willing to pay that price merely to maintain peace? Whose peace are you maintaining? Theirs. because you certainly aren't maintaining yours. You're igniting yourself to provide them warmth. Stop it. Let them freeze. The ultimate objective is not merely to handle disrespect. It's to transcend it. There arrives a level of self-mastery where the judgments of others genuinely, profoundly don't matter. This is the state of the exceptional. The exceptional person knows that people project their own reality onto others. When someone calls you arrogant, it's because they feel insignificant. When someone calls you selfish, it's because they want to exploit you. The exceptional person doesn't take it personally. They take it structurally. You see human beings as sophisticated mechanisms running obsolete programming. They're reacting to their trauma, their anxieties, their conditioning. You're just a screen they're projecting their film onto. When you realize this, when you truly comprehend it, you become free. You can observe someone screaming at you and feel nothing but curiosity. How fascinating, you think. Look at how much pain they're experiencing. You're no longer on the chessboard. You're observing the game. This is the level Machiavelli aspired to. The level where you're not governed by fortune, but by your own capability, your own mastery. You become the eye of the hurricane. The chaos spins around you, but you are still. And in that stillness, you find a power that no shout, no insult, and no betrayal can ever touch. This is the victory. Not that they cease trying to disrespect you. They might never cease. The world is full of damaged people. The victory is that you stop caring. You stop needing them to be different. You stop waiting for an apology that will never arrive. You accept reality as it exists and you move through it with the grace of a predator and the wisdom of a sage. You become the lion and the fox. So here's your mission for the next 7 days. Observe. Be the fox. Notice every time someone crosses a line. Notice every time you feel the urge to apologize when you did nothing wrong. Notice every time you contract. Don't judge it. Just see it. And then select one small battle. One moment where you would usually collapse and hold. Hold the silence. Hold the gaze. Hold the boundary. Watch what happens. Watch the shock in their eyes. Watch the shift in the energy and feel the surge of power returning to your body. It begins with one moment, one choice, one act of refusal. You have the map. You have the weapon. The question is, do you have the will? Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Show them who you really are, not by speaking louder, but by refusing to be moved." Before we close, understand this is not a one-time repair. This is a lifestyle, a philosophy. You will fail. You will slide back into old patterns. You will let someone walk over you and you will despise yourself for it later. That is part of the process. Forgive yourself, then sharpen the blade again. The path to sovereignty is a steep mountain. Most people perish at the base camp, complaining about conditions. You are climbing. The air is thinner up here. It is colder. But the view is clarity. You see who people really are. And more importantly, you see who you really are. You are not the victim of your story. You are the author. And the author has the power to write a new character. A character who commands respect, not by demanding it, but by embodying it. The world will adjust to you. It always does. The strong determine the atmosphere. The weak adapt to it. Be the weather. Disrespect is a question. Are you weak? Your response must be the answer. No. You do not need to shout it. Your life should be the answer. Your posture should be the answer. Your absence should be the answer. We have walked through the valley of the shadow. We have dissected the insult. We have armed the mind. Now you must go back into the world. The predators are waiting. Let them wait. You are ready. If this opened your eyes, if you found value in this message, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It helps this reach more people who need to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Mind Verity. We're building something powerful here, and I want you to be part of it. I'll see you in the next one.